Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Sun Devil Extra. This is the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network show that each week spotlights the teams, athletes, coaches, and stories in Arizona State University Sun Devil athletics. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of Sun Devil football, men's basketball, and baseball, and it's my pleasure to serve as your host each week. On this week's show, we are going to take a deep dive into arguably the three most important letters in the intercollegiate athletics landscape these days. NIL, as we explore the name, image, and likeness initiatives that are taking place here at Arizona State University on behalf of Sun Devil student athletes. NIL at ASU will be the topic of conversation this week when we visit with the president of the Sun Devil Club Executive Board, Chris Michaels, as well as with Brittani Willett, who is the executive director of the Sun Angel Collective. That is the group of Sun Devil athletic supporters who help manage and maximize NIL opportunities for Arizona State student athletes. Also joining us this week will be one of ASU's better-known student athletes. Sun Devil football quarterback Trenton Bourguet will join us to talk about his recent $10,000 donation to the Sun Angel Collective and his challenge to local businesses and individuals to get involved in helping to support ASU's NIL initiatives. Our three guests will join us a little bit later on in the show, but first let's begin with a quick look at the top Sun Devil sports stories of this past week, and perhaps the greatest volleyball season in Arizona State history has come to an end, with the fifth-seeded Sun Devils falling last Thursday night to number one seed Stanford 3-1 in the Sweet 16 round of the 2023 NCAA Women's Volleyball Tournament in Stanford, California. Arizona State ended its 50th anniversary season with a final record of 28 wins and 7 losses. The team's .800 winning percentage, the best in Sun Devil history, the 28 victories, the second most in Sun Devil volleyball history. First-year Arizona State head coach J.J. Van Niel earned Pac-12 Coach of the Year honors, while a group of his players earned all Pac-12 honors in 2023, among them Marta Levinska, Jelly Sear, Shannon Shields, Claire Jeter, and Mary Schroll. And by the way, the number 2 seed Texas Longhorns ended up knocking off Stanford in that regional final. Texas will play in the women's volleyball Final Four this weekend in Tampa, Florida, as Texas will take on number 1 seed Wisconsin in one semifinal, while a pair of other number 1 seeds, Pittsburgh and Nebraska, will square off in the other, and those semifinals will take place this coming Thursday night. The national championship match will be held Sunday afternoon, December 17th, in Tampa, Florida. So that's the latest on volleyball. The curtain drops on what was a fantastic season for J.J. Van Niel and his Sun Devil women's volleyball team. Sun Devil Athletics posted an all-time high graduation success rate, or GSR, of 93%, according to figures released last week by the NCAA, with 13 Sun Devil sports teams achieving perfect GSRs of 100%. This marks the 15th consecutive year that Sun Devil Athletics has either maintained or surpassed its all-time best graduation success rate. The graduation success rate is the NCAA's primary tool in measuring academic success in Division I athletics. The 13th ranked Sun Devil hockey team posted back-to-back overtime shootout wins over Ivy League opponent Dartmouth last weekend at Mullet Arena. Friday's game ended in a 4-4 tie in regulation, with Lucas Sillinger scoring the overtime shootout winner for Arizona State. Jackson Niedermeyer netted the OT winner the following night, Saturday night, after the two teams finished in a 1-1 tie in regulation in that game. Coach Greg Powers' hockey team heads east this weekend to Pittsburgh as the Sun Devils have games with Robert Morris this coming Saturday and Sunday night. Big games coming up this weekend for both of the Sun Devils basketball teams. The ASU women will open Pac-12 conference play this coming Sunday afternoon at Desert Financial Arena against none other than those Arizona Wildcats. It'll be a 5 p.m. tip at Desert Financial Arena as ASU and the U of A get the final season of Pac-12 play underway. Jeff Munn and Maura McHugh will bring you all the action on the Sun Devil Radio Network and KDUS 1060 AM with their pregame coverage starting at 4:30 this coming Sunday afternoon. As for the ASU men, they will head to Fort Worth, Texas this coming weekend for a rematch against their NCAA tournament foe from last March, the TCU Horned Frogs. The ASU-TCU game will be the third of a Saturday triple header at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas as part of the U.S. LBM Coast to Coast Challenge. Tip-off time will be approximately 8 p.m. Arizona time. And my broadcast partner Kyle Dodd and I will have the game for you on the Sun Devil Radio Network and Arizona Sports 98.7 FM. The game will also be streamed on the AZ Sports app and on ArizonaSports.com. Two Sun Devils received significant individual honors over the past week. Eighth-year Arizona State men's golf head coach Matt Thurmond was named to lead Team USA at the 2024 Arnold Palmer Cup competition this coming July in Ireland. The Palmer Cup features the nation's top men's and women's collegiate golfers taking on their international counterparts. Matt Thurmond has led the Sun Devil men's golf to 3 consecutive top 5 finishes at the NCAA championships. In the meantime, former Sun Devil track and field superstar Turner Washington was one of 10 former student athletes nationwide to be named as recipients of the NCAA's Today's Top 10 Award. That's an award that recognizes former student athletes not only for their exceptional athletic and academic achievements, but also for their contributions to their campuses and their communities. Turner Washington was a 5-time NCAA champion thrower during his time at Arizona State, as well as a 9-time All-American. Coming up, we will begin our NIL discussion on this week's show as we visit with the president of the Sun Devil Club Executive Board. Chris Michaels will join us. But first, let's take a break. This is Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. We continue now with this week's installment of Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of the Sun Devils, and your host for our show. Glad you joined us this week. As we mentioned at the top of our broadcast, Arizona State's NIL efforts will be the primary topic of conversation on this week's show. For the past 2.5 years, the letters NIL have become 3 of the most important and powerful letters in today's intercollegiate athletics landscape, as student athletes nationwide are now able to monetize and profit from their own name, image, and likeness. With Arizona State headed to the Big 12 Conference 1 year from now, the Sun Devils' NIL initiatives will be critical in helping ASU's athletic teams achieve success on the field in the field of play over the next few years. Joining us this week to talk about NIL at ASU is a good friend who happens to be a 1987 graduate of Arizona State University, whose dad played on ASU's first ever College World Series baseball team back in 1964. For the last 7 years, she has served on the executive board of the Sun Devil Club, and she currently has the distinction of being the first woman ever elected president of the executive board of the Sun Devil Club. It is a pleasure to welcome my good friend Chris Michaels to the show. Chris, great to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks, Tim, for having me.
To say the least, this is a different day and age in the realm of intercollegiate athletics for sure. As a lifelong college sports fan yourself, just begin by giving us your overview of this name, image, and likeness era that we now find ourselves in.
Yeah, it's a little crazy, but it's where we're at right now. So student athletes are now able to profit and monetize off their name, image, and likeness. And we're trying to help them do that the best we can at Arizona State University.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there, I know I've heard it myself, a lot of them who grumble and say, let's go back to the good old days, when it was truly amateur sports and whatnot, maybe fans who want things to go back the way they used to be, but that's not going to happen. Name, image, and likeness is here to stay, is it not?
It is here to stay, and it's kind of like anything in the world, right? As you listen to your parents and they said, oh, it was so much different when I grew up, and I want it to go back to like this, and kids didn't do this, and kids didn't do that. Well, we're evolving, and college sports has evolved, and name, image, and likeness is here to stay. I, for one, taking it as a positive because I feel like I can help have an impact in helping Arizona State athletics be successful throughout all sports and throughout, especially football.
And that's a feeling that I think everyone can have that contributes to NIL, isn't it?
It is. We can all make a difference. And it doesn't have just to be the big donors. What you may have noticed in the past, people felt like, oh, if I don't have millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, I can't have an impact. Everyone can have an impact with NIL. And people giving as little as $10 a month or a one-time donation, one of the advantages Arizona State has is our scale. We have 605,000 alumni. And that doesn't include all the passionate fans that are here in the Valley that have grown up with Arizona State athletics. And you get 2,000 people giving $42 a month, that's $1 million a year. So everyone can have an impact, and that's one of the things that I really like. We can all make a difference.
Now, where in your opinion does Arizona State stand right now in terms of its name, image, and likeness opportunities for Sun Devil student athletes in terms of how it stacks up against what we might see a year from now in the Big 12 Conference?
Well, to be honest, we started a little late, but a group, myself and 4 other people, started this initiative about a year ago. And I would say this year we're going to be in middle of the pack for the Big 12. So we're making significant impacts, but I know we can do a lot better. So there's a lot of things that we're working on, not only with big donors, the monthly donations, but also some reoccurring revenue. So this is going to be sustainable. We understand we can't keep going after the big guys every year. So we're working on all kinds of things to make this sustainable, and we can have an impact.
Now, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, you and your husband, Chuck, hosted a significant and successful private fundraising event at your home, an event that helped secure commitments, as I understand, totaling $1 million for the Sun Angel Collective's $1 million match campaign. Tell us about that evening and exactly what the $1 million match campaign entails.
Yes, so what we did is we had an event at our house, which we actually were able to raise over $1 million, a significant amount. And what we've done is we've taken a portion of that, $1 million, to match with the community to activate the Valley, which is going into effect until the spring game. It's people that we've been working on the last year that are really passionate about ASU athletics. And we're really this was a great event, and it's a strong indication that we have the support in the Valley that we need to take our programs where they need to go.
Now, I understand that Sun Devil football coach Kenny Dillingham made a presentation at your event, and tell us a little bit about what he had to say and the benefit it is for ASU's NIL efforts to have a young, energetic head coach as the face of your efforts to get NIL going here.
First, must I say, I love Kenny Dillingham. He's the right guy to be leading our program. Coach Dillingham gets it. He understands that name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal are part of our life today. So he's embracing it. And he has a really good strategy. His strategy is we're not going to be in bidding wars for these student athletes. We're going to be competitive, but we're going to be able to offer them other things. And living in the valleys, being part of the Arizona State community, the education that our school now offers, things like the Barrett's College, all of those things, we can have an impact. The kids can be successful here, and they can go to the next level, and we can sustain this.
And that was the gist of his presentation as well, huh?
Yes, it was the gist of it. He gets it, he embraces it, and I believe he's doing it the right way.
Now, if you were addressing a group of Sun Devil fans, which basically you are on this program, the folks that watch and listen, what would you say to them in terms of why fans should get involved in ASU's NIL efforts?
Yeah, a lot of people say, look, I don't want to do it. Like you said, the older generation, it's different. Well, the time is to act now, and together we can win, and this is where we can have a tangible impact on Arizona State athletics. And everyone can make a difference. It's not just the big donors. And what's happening, it's not like these student athletes are just getting money. They're doing stuff in the community. We're building the community. We really are truly activating the Valley. And it's allowing the student athletes to do things like pay their rent. A lot of the things with their stipend don't cover their expenses. So we're able to help provide additional resources for them, but also I think they're getting additional leadership and they're integrating into the community. So I think it's an opportunity for all of us to get involved.
And the thing that struck me, you mentioned it a moment ago, but we should repeat, it's not just the big $1 million high money boosters that are involved. This is something that every fan can get involved with. Every dollar really counts, doesn't it?
Every single dollar has an impact. Like I said, 2,000 people giving $42 a month, that's $1 million a year. And I mean, you know, you can go down 10, you can give more. I mean, there's just so much more we can do. And I know that we have a very passionate fan base, and it's trying to get everybody together to really help build and take our program to where it needs to go.
So anyone who's listening or watching, if they want to get involved, what's the best way for them to go about doing it?
They can go to our website, which is sunangels.org, and they can make a monthly donation, a one-time donation. You're going to be hearing from our executive director, Brittani Willett, so she can give you a lot more details on that. But contact us, go to the website. We need each and every one of you. We can do this, and I know we're going to get us back to where we know we can be, and we can lead the Big 12.
There you go. Well, Chris, I just want to thank you. You and your husband, Chuck, have been tremendous. They're good friends, and all you've done and all you continue to do for Arizona State athletics. And thanks for joining us on the show this week.
Thanks for having me, and we're just getting started. We're all in. We're going to do this.
There you go. That's Chris Michaels. She is the president of the Sun Devil Club Executive Board, and she's been our guest on this segment of Sun Devil Extra. There is a group in place now, the Sun Angel Collective, consisting of supporters of Arizona State University athletics who've banded together to help Sun Devil athletes maximize their NIL opportunities. And coming up, you will meet the executive director of the Sun Angel Collective, as Brittani Willett will join us. But first, these messages. This is Sun Devil Extra coming your way from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. Welcome back to Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of the Sun Devils, and your host for our show. We're happy that you joined us this week. As we continue our discussion of Arizona State's name, image, and likeness initiatives, we welcome to this segment of the show the woman who was hired just over 1 year ago this time to serve as the executive director of the Sun Angel Collective. That is the community of Sun Devil athletics supporters who have come together to help manage and oversee ASU student athletes' NIL opportunities. It is a pleasure to welcome Brittani Willett to the show here this week. Brittani, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Now, you had been working, as I understand it, with the NHL's Arizona Coyotes prior to coming over to ASU. What factors attracted you to take this job at Arizona State and enter into the really transformational realm of name, image, and likeness in intercollegiate athletics?
Yeah, a lot of what I had been doing with the Coyotes kind of aligned with this role. So when I started with them, I was on their, ran their community relations and foundation. So a lot of the, working with the local nonprofits, working with the athletes to integrate them into the community, and donor relations, and then kind of coming out of COVID with the Coyotes, I was on their corporate partnership team. So also, working with businesses here in the Valley, and it really just encompassed a lot of what I currently do in my role.
Outstanding. It just seems like it's a great fit for you here.
Yeah.
And give us an overview of exactly what it is that you and your colleagues in the Sun Angel Collective do in terms of managing ASU student athletes' NIL opportunities.
Yeah, so I usually kind of break it down into 4 parts. So we have kind of 4 different areas of focus. One, growing our membership base. That is really critically important to kind of our success. Is, people can get involved at all different levels. They get different things at varying levels. So really, managing that and growing that base. Working with our larger donors, kind of making sure that we're directing their funds where they want to go. I guess I should note that we have actually added a new feature where even if you are giving in the monthly program, you can allocate what sports your funds are going to support. So that happens once you get through making a donation. On the last step is kind of allocating where you'd like your funds to go. Mm-hmm. We also work with the business community to, let them know that this is an opportunity and something they can use kind of in their marketing efforts, is, integrating athletes into that. And that can look like a lot of different things.
Right.
And then working with the athletes. So we, when an athlete is working with us, to be compensated, they have to do something to earn those funds. We align them with a local nonprofit to give back to the community, and then that's kind of what they're compensated for.
How would you compare where ASU's NIL operation is now from where it was when you started here about 13 months ago?
night and day difference. So we have set up a lot of systems. It's been a lot of education the last year, just really, people just getting them to understand like what NIL is, how can they get involved, how we're here to support, why it matters. So last year has been a lot of education and a lot of setting up processes and putting systems in place. And now we're starting to see kind of the fruits of those labors.
Mm-hmm. We talked about this with Chris Michaels on the previous segment, but how does ASU's NIL war chest, if you will, right now compare with those of some of the other schools that we will see as competitors in the future, starting next year when ASU moves to the Big 12 conference?
Yeah, in the last, I'd say 30 to 45 days, we've had a lot of success that I think kind of puts us towards the middle of that group, hoping to continue to build that momentum, with the $1 million match that we have going on right now. Anyone that makes a donation, their donations being matched dollar for dollar up to $1 million. If we can fulfill that whole $1 million, that's really going to kind of push us ahead there.
Yeah. And talk a little bit more about that $1 million match and how it came about. And it seems like it's it's just a godsend almost for this NIL endeavor right now.
Yeah, we are very fortunate that we had a group of passionate supporters kind of rally together and make a significant contribution to the collective to kind of get things kick-started for this next year. And part of that was putting together a $1 million match to just kind of activate the Valley and let people know, like, hey, if you were on the fence about it, if you're, $10 was going to make a difference, well, your $10 is now $20 and it all adds up. So it definitely makes a difference. And I just encourage everyone to get involved.
All right, someone is out there watching or listening and they want to get involved with the Sun Angel Collective. They want to be a part of this effort. Where can they go to make a donation? How can they get involved?
Yeah, you can go to our website, sunangels.org. There's contact information for me on there as well. So if you have questions, you want to talk through things before you make that donation, I'm happy to have a conversation. But otherwise, you can just go directly to our website and you can sign up to become a monthly member or make a one-time donation.
Mm-hmm. Now, you touched on this earlier, but let's emphasize that fans can actually designate where their money goes to, can they not?
They can, yeah. That is a newer feature. So prior to, probably about 2 weeks ago, when you were a monthly supporter, that was not an option. But that has been added just from feedback that we have received from donors that they want to know where their money is going. So we listened and we put that in place. It is, I will say, you have to get through the process of like you put your donation in and it's the very last step, because I do get that question a lot. So very last step is kind of allocating where your funds will go.
If I'm a business owner, how can I utilize ASU student athletes as part of the NIL strategy?
Yeah, we can get super creative on what that looks like, but leveraging the athletes' social media following. A lot of them have, pretty solid followings, and their fan base and supporters are engaged with what they're sharing. We can do a meet and greet, autograph signing. We really can be creative. We've seen people do commercials, billboards, just lots of different avenues there. So happy to, help facilitate any of those conversations as well.
Are there any other things that the student athletes are doing to earn their NIL funds?
Seen kind of all sorts of things. A lot of those things that I just touched on, when it comes to donor raised funds, generally the athlete is getting involved with a local nonprofit. So either, going out and volunteering at a Boys and Girls Club or helping at a food bank, also utilizing their social platform to drive awareness to a cause they might be passionate about. So it can look like a lot of different things.
Now, our guest on the next segment of our show is going to be a familiar face to Sun Devil football fans. Quarterback Trenton Bourguet is going to come on with us. You talk about a young man who stepped up and donated $10,000 of his own NIL cash, if you will, to the Sun Angel Collective, and then has issued the TB16 challenge as well. And I'm wondering how that challenge is going so far.
Yeah, we've seen some really great success with it. So when you go to our website to get involved, there is a level there that's $16 a month, and that's part of the TB16 challenge that Trenton's put together. So he's matching that. Right now, if you sign up at that level, you're getting a match for the first $10,000, and then also the $1 million match on top of that. So you're tripling your dollars. So talk about a win-win-win there.
For sure. And isn't there also a level of donation at $42 a month, the number 42, so special, of course, to everybody that cares about Arizona State because it was the uniform number worn by the late, great Pat Tillman when he played football here.
Correct.
Is there a 42?
There is, yeah.
That's a level as well. Huh?
Yep.
Now, Coach Kenny Dillingham has become almost a spokesperson for the group. He has taken the lead almost with his efforts in behalf of NIL. How valuable has that been to your program?
Oh, it's significant. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better person out there kind of rallying people to support. Coach Dillingham came on board, I think, 2 weeks after I was hired. So really kind of helped kickstart things. You know, we launched with some large donations with people rallying behind him, and he's continued to kind of share that messaging throughout the Valley.
It would probably be worth emphasizing that this whole NIL effort, it's not just a football thing or football and men's basketball. This is every sport across the board at Arizona State, isn't it?
Correct. Yep. The collective is set up to support all sports, and that's where that piece where you can kind of allocate where your funds comes into play, that you can choose where you want your funds to be going, and we'll make sure that that's where they're routed to.
So before we wrap up, again, why don't you let fans know where they can go, how they can get involved in NIL?
Yeah, Sun Angels, and it's Angels with an S on the end, .org, and you'll see a few different options on there. You know, like we talked about some of those levels, the TV 16, the $42 a month, PT 42. It can vary, and then there's also a one-time donation spot on there as well.
Great information, Brittani, and we're so thankful for all you do for ASU athletics. Thanks for joining us on the show this week.
Thanks for having me.
That's Sun Devil Brittani Willett. She is the executive director of the Sun Angel Collective, and she's been our guest on this segment of Sun Devil Extra. Up next, we will wrap up this week's show by visiting with a marquee Sun Devil student athlete who's letting his money do the talking in his efforts to help ASU's NIL efforts. We'll visit with Arizona State football quarterback Trenton Bourguet in just a moment. But first, these messages. This is Sun Devil Extra, coming your way from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. We are winding down this week's edition of Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of the Sun Devils, and we thank you for joining us this week. As we wrap up our discussion of Arizona State's NIL initiatives for its student athletes, what better way to punctuate the conversation than to visit with a young man who has benefited himself from name, image, and likeness opportunities at Arizona State, and now he wants to help a lot of his fellow student athletes do likewise. How so? Well, he has donated $10,000 in money he himself earned through NIL deals to the Sun Angel Collective and is hoping to get others, namely Sun Devil fans and local businesses, to do the same and join in the initiative. We are delighted to have Arizona State football quarterback Trenton Bourguet join us here on the show. Good to see you, bud. How you been?
Good to see you too. It's been pretty good. You know, had this off season, no surgeries this off season, so it's been nice to
that's a good thing, right?
To relax and be with family and you know, go to some ASU sporting events. But it's been good.
We'll talk a little football in a moment, but first, talk about this thought process that led you to make this amazing, generous $10,000 donation to the Sun Angel Club.
Yeah, you know, I've been very fortunate and blessed to be able to, you know, receive some money through the NIL Collective. And for me, it was really, you know, this is my last year at Arizona State, and, you know, trying to just, you know, help out any way I can of, you know, helping this team and the program, really all the sports, the athletes, you know, at ASU. And I thought there was no better way than, you know, putting in my own money. You know, people are talking about, you know, raising awareness, but I thought, you know, if I, you know, can also, you know, talk the talk but walk the walk as well, you know, just trying to raise awareness.
Well done, my friend. And at the same time that Trenton donated the $10,000, he also used his initials and uniform number to create the TB16 Challenge. Whom are you challenging, and what do you hope to accomplish through it?
Yeah, you know, really like how we were talking about earlier, you know, any amount of money, whether it's $1, $10, $100, you know, the more people we can get in, you know, the more money we're going to raise, not only, you know, for these athletes, but for the community, and the more people that, you know, can see this challenge and be aware of it, you know, whether it's a past alumni, you know, certain athletes in the past or current athletes, just trying to raise awareness and get as much money at ASU as we can.
I understand you're trying to get 10 businesses to match your donation,
Yes,
and
sir.
then 16 his number again, 1,600 individuals to invest whatever they can.
Yes,
What's
sir.
the response been like so far?
Yeah, I've had a couple people DM me through Twitter and on Instagram, and I've heard from the collective that the numbers have been increasing. But I've had a lot of people message me and saying they were already a partner, but they're even willing to donate more now just to see the passion we have for this team and just this university. And I really think this is an empire waiting to be built. Without all the sport programs and all the great coaches we have. So super excited to see what we have in the future.
I think we just got a phrase to latch on, folks. Empire waiting to be built. I'm liking that very much. Tell us about some of the NIL opportunities that you have had in your experience with the program.
Yeah, it's been great. Growing up in a small town, I'm used to being those kids that, would be looking up to, meet some great athletes. And I've been fortunate enough here to be surrounded by some great athletes and just using our platform, kind of like we said, of, being able to, take kids out to, get a signing, an autograph signing with Cam Scatabo and Elijah Badger and Jalen Conyers and, some guys that really did a great job, using their platform. And just, we're very blessed to be in this position, and, it's going to go by like that, but trying to, get as many Sun Devil fans to appreciate us. So.
Speaking of Jalen Conyers and Elijah Badger, tell the story about how you were able to help them get some pretty sweet rides, I understand.
Yeah. So last year I was able to meet, Parker Jones at a basketball game and talking to him about, obviously, maybe getting a car or a truck or something like that. And I was fortunate enough to get a car, from graduating last year from my parents. But I thought, Jalen Conyers and Elijah Badger and another player at the time, they were, in need of a car. And thinking, there's no better way to get these guys to stay at ASU and feel appreciated than, use my connections with Parker Jones. And he was able to step up and get these guys, in two Mustangs at the time. And
wow.
They were blessed. This last year, Elijah Badger is still driving his around. I saw him this morning in the red one. And obviously, Jalen Conyers isn't here anymore. But just trying to use my platform, like I say, being the quarterback, making sure I help out the guys around me, and whether it wasn't with cars or taking my lineman out to Texas Roadhouse and the defensive lineman to NATO Grill and Wings, and Burrito Express has done a great job of not only helping the football players, but I think they have some softball players as well. So it's been awesome to see these local businesses step up to help us out.
And it's a family-wide deal with the Bourguets. It's not just Trenton. His brother Coben is a football player at Arizona State, a wide receiver, and your sister Rylan plays beach volleyball here at ASU,
Yes,
and I'm sure they've had their opportunities as well.
Yeah, in the past, Rylan has taken out her team to Burrito Express to take them all there, and it's walking distance from the stadium here. So it's been super cool to just see all the people that have really bought into helping us out, and we're trying to use our platform to help their businesses as well.
Now, of course, NIL is going to play a vital role as ASU gets ready to transition into the Big 12 Conference next year. I know from a competitive standpoint, you're probably looking forward to the new challenges and opportunities, but talk about that and also the NIL context of moving into the Big 12 now.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 is a great conference that we're excited to be a part of, but we know that it's going to take just more people to be involved, and there's some great programs out there that are raising a lot of money, but we think we can do a great job of doing our job on the field, on the court, and it's going to take like we said, the Valley to all be activated and to help us out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit of football now with Trenton Bourguet. And looking back at this past season, on one hand, certainly it was a difficult, challenging season for everybody. You in particular, you had some injuries that you had to deal with during the course of the year. And yet it was a season that to me had a little overtone of hope to it, hope for the future, hope generated mainly by your head coach, Kenny Dillingham. How do you look back at 2023?
Yeah, this season obviously wasn't the season we, planned for. Obviously we had, the being banned from the bowl game if we were able to make one, and we had a couple players that were denied their, eligibility to play. But, I thought this team fought all the way till the end. It didn't matter whether we were down at halftime or up at halftime. Obviously we had a lot of key injuries that definitely, made it difficult, but I was proud of the way, we responded there. We definitely could have tapped out, easily in the middle of the season, but we fought hard. To see us, lose by one possession to Washington, that's, in the Final Four. I think that shows us great hope in knowing that, we're right there competing against one of the top 4 teams in the nation with the Heisman candidate. So I'm super excited. I'm excited to see where Coach Dillingham, I think the direction we're heading is a great direction, and I just can't wait to see what happens in the future.
And the really cool part about it, you're going to be back for one more go-around
Yes,
next
sir.
year. Talk about that.
Yeah, I have one more year left. Arizona, I was born and raised in Arizona. I've been very fortunate to, be a Sun Devil. Obviously I'm from Tucson, but I made so many great memories and created so many relationships that for me, there was no better place to spend my last year. I'm going to put in, as much work as I can and help any way I can with this team. And obviously I want to coach. I want to stay in Arizona. Work under Coach Dillingham would be the best job I could have. But this last year, I'm super excited to spend it here with these guys and to make this year memorable.
And I think I can tell you what one of his all-time best memories is, because you are looking at the last quarterback to have defeated the Washington Huskies. Here we are. It's been like 14 months since October 8th, 2022, and Washington still has not lost a football game since that afternoon when Mr. Trenton Bourguet came off the bench and engineered a 45-38 upset victory for the Sun Devils over the Washington Huskies. Think back on that day, and are you as amazed as I am that they have not lost? I mean, they're a great football team, but they have not lost a game since, as they get ready to enter into the college football playoff this year and play for a national title.
Yeah, it's crazy. It feels like it was just the other day that happened. I'll never forget that day. That was one of the best days of my life. But yeah, they're a great team, and I think that just shows us that we're very capable of being a team like that. We beat them last year. We almost had them this year, but to show that they have, I think they won 20 straight games in a row. They're a great team, and I kind of think they have a great team culture, and I think that's what we're building here at Arizona State.
Boy, but he taught lessons to everybody. Be ready when your moment comes, because you hadn't played a whole lot in your career up till then. Emory Jones goes down with a second quarter injury that afternoon, and you came in, and I think you scored a touchdown like within 2 plays after you came onto the field, and just played the game of your life and looked like you'd been doing it all along. Talk about how you were able to be ready for your moment when the moment arrived.
Yeah, coming here as a freshman, a walk-on, and being the 5th string, and I was told, on my visit, I'm never going to see the field, so don't ever complain. And, I just trusted God's plan, and just, I prepared each and every week, each and every year like I was the starter, being behind Jaden Daniels for 3 years, and, they brought in some transfers to try to take over the reins. But, I just made sure to, trust God's plan and to continue to prepare and, not overlook any week. And I just remember that week. I remember that pregame. I just had a weird sense of feeling, and it stinks to see, somebody go down. Luckily Emory wasn't too bad, but just making sure to do whatever I can to help the team win. And it was a day, like I said, I'll always remember.
And a lot of us will as well. That was a great afternoon for you, and certainly a tremendous performance. Before I let you go, how about your ex-teammate Jaden Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner in 2023? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I texted him yesterday, and I was texting him this morning, and just super awesome to see a kid that is it's crazy. I felt like we were just here the last couple years.
Yeah.
And we would talk about watching those big SEC teams and the Heisman Trophy winners in the past, and just talking football with him, and he put in a lot of work, and it's been awesome to see all that hard work paid off, and he had a great year, and I'm super excited to see what he has in the future.
All right, fans, roll up your sleeves and get involved in Arizona State's NIL endeavors, and take part in the TB16 challenge. Help contribute like Trenton Bourguet did. He put up $10,000 of his own money, and put up whatever you can and help Arizona State thrive in the NIL world as ASU heads off to the Big 12. Happy holidays, bud. Good to see you. All the best to your family, and we're looking forward to seeing you again next year here.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That's Sun Devil quarterback Trenton Bourguet, our guest on this final segment of this week's edition of Sun Devil Extra. As we bring down the curtain on today's show, a few thank yous we want to pass out before we leave, thanking Arizona State our executive producer, ASU Senior Associate Athletic Director Doug Tamaro. Thanks to our technical guru, Sean Crespin of the Sun Devil Radio Network, for his help. And thanks to our show scheduler, Kim Nelson from Sun Devil Athletics as well. We'll be back next week with another edition of Sun Devil Extra, and we hope that you'll make plans to join us. Till then, I'm Tim Healey saying so long, everybody.